Someone digging around in your mind takes a lot out of you.
Hi. Can I help you? I need to speak to Cynthia Windsor. I need help. I see things.
What kind of things? There is something attached to that girl. Something terrible. We don't know these people. We can't trust them.
Mom, I'm seeing it.
This won't be pleasant. If an entity has attached itself to you, it will be the weakest part of your mind, where you hold the most pain. We'll need to go there to find it. Cynthia, wake up! Where is she? Where's my daughter?
Don't be scared. It's worse if you're afraid.
So welcome back to the SWAU's official channel. We are with a great performer and a great writer and director for the Conversation With series on the channel. It Feeds is coming soon. I've had the pleasure of watching it not once, not twice, but 3 times, Chad. 3 times I've watched the film. Literally, it is a masterpiece, and it's horror done right in so many ways. And we've got with us Shayelin Martin and Chad Archibald, the writer and director. Welcome to the show.
We're happy to be here.
And first off, I mean, this film has got so many layers, it's unbelievable. And I love how it's written in the way that it gets you in a false sense of, security, and then it hits you. And you sent me a message saying, Bryan, watch it in the dark and watch it loud. And I was just saying to Ellie and Juno that, I did have to clean up a drink mess on my sofa, because there are moments that make you jump out of your skin. So we'll start with Chad. Chad, where did this, story come from? I mean, was it from personal fears, or, how did you come up with this idea?
Yeah, I mean, it was it's strange because it was a bit of a struggle to figure out what I was going to do next after our last film, I'll Take Your Dead. And it took about 5 years to come up with this and pull it all together. And to be honest, in a weird way, it really came down to trying to write something that I wanted to do, opposed to trying to write something for the industry or, what's going to be next or whatever. And I had lost both my parents in between these 2 films to cancer. And I had struggled a lot just, trying to find something that felt like it meant something, I guess. Horror's always got some sort of subtext of, something behind, all the chaos and the screams and the fears and scares and whatnot. But this one, it really clicked with me at a certain point with this creature, to try to create something that wasn't like, an artifact or, it's, has history in some religion or something. I wanted to do something that was original and really didn't, which is really, really hard. Like as a writer or horror filmmaker, it's like there are so many things that are being done every single day in the horror genre. And, for the last however many years, it's really hard to get something fresh. And for me, it just became, this was fresh for me. And I wanted to create this entity that was, in a weird way, like cancer. It just fed and it didn't have any motive other than feeding and destroying. And then I wanted to create a bunch of characters that would go kick its ass. So that was kind of therapeutic for me in a weird way.
Do you know what? It's strange you say that, because that's what I was getting from the film. Because same as you, I've lost both my parents in the last 2 years from cancer. And watching this film and it deal with grief as well. And it's really weird, because that's what I was getting from the film as well. And it's just really weird. And I think you've done it perfectly on screen. And I love how you're calling the creature, the cancer and everything like that. It's so much deeper, and it's great, these indie movies, because you don't have to, bow at these big studios. You're doing it yourself, which I think is fantastic, and that's where I think we get a lot more heart and soul in these films, which beat any of these big budget, films that we see out there. I mean, you wouldn't even, these compare perfectly. So yeah, I mean, a fantastic job, and I just love this movie so much. And I don't normally like horrors. Horrors scare me. I got an overactive imagination.
It scared me too.
Yeah. So Shayelin, your character, when we see her on screen for the first time, I straight away I thought, oh, this is not going to be good. This is where things are gonna. When a girl turns up in a Mac in the rain, asking for help, that's when things go wrong. So, when you saw this script and this character, what were your first impressions?
It was really, I don't mean to be weird, but it was really toe curling, like reading it. My first impression, I really felt bad for her, because I feel she was very much stuck in the middle, and her father, it's not that he doesn't want to help her, it's that he's a bit, I don't know what the right word is.
He's sort of bound, isn't he? Through, he's doing the wrong things for the right reasons, I think, in this film. Yeah.
So she's very much, sort of like helpless in this situation, which is awful. And I didn't think she was going to survive. That's okay. Yeah, I don't know. I felt really bad for her when I was reading the script.
She's a great character. Like any films like this, it's got to have a certain mix of characters. And Chad, you've done such a great. I did mention it with Ellie and Juno that you've done an amazing thing of, we've got Ashley Greene and Sean Ashmore, as we know from Twilight, and which, can I just say, Ashley Greene is my girl's favorite character from Twilight, and then obviously Sean Ashmore. Yeah. But what you've done with these characters, there's no such thing as a small character in this film. Everyone has got such a well-rounded story, and you haven't got any characters in the background that we hardly remember. Everyone is memorable in their own way. So how did you balance that within the writing to get everyone's story on the same level in the way that captivates the audience?
Yeah, I mean, I think so much of it is just figuring out, one, never just writing a character to fill in a hole. So much of it is just figuring out who they were, their whole backstory, and just giving them a voice. I mean, if someone's going to be on camera as part of, this big story that you're telling, trying to make sure that they're there for a good reason. We crammed so much into the script and the story that, it really felt, I don't even know how it all came together so quickly. Like, I wrote it within 7 days, the first draft. It just, like, once it hit, it just kept going and going and going and going. But, I think also something that's really worked with Shayelin's character and also Sean Ashmore is that they have kind of their own movie that's separate. Mm-hmm. Like, they've gone through this entire different film where they've, tried to deal with, this creature being attached to Riley's mother and losing her, and this creature jumping onto Riley, and the path that he's gone on to try to help her. And she's lost all hope, and the only thing that he knows how to do is start pulling people in and putting them in his basement and feeding this thing. So, I mean, their story's so juicy that it could just be their own. It could be in its own movie. It's like their movie's just kind of like influencing our two main characters, and it's Cynthia and Jordan's movie. It's like that's who we're watching, and we're just getting influenced by this kind of entirely other story that, I would love to make that other story. It's so juicy and it's so heartbreaking, because I think, Sean's character was really a good man. Like he was a good father and a good husband, and did everything that he could to protect his wife. And after seeing what this thing did to his wife, and even though doctors and medical staff, no one could figure it out, it's like he really has no place to go. And now, it attaches to your child, and what are you going to do to protect her?
And since you've been a new father, so congratulations there. I suppose you look at it in a different way, because I've got 2 small girls, and I would do anything, absolutely anything. So you sort of relate to Sean's character, because we would do that in the same, if we're in the same position. So Shayelin, your scenes are quite intense, and as a young performer, how do you prepare yourself to get into character? Because what we see on screen is incredible. So, what work goes into that, before Chad shouts shoot or action?
I'll be honest, I really don't do too much. I know some actors do meditate sometimes, and they do think about what their character is going through, but I think in the moment you just really have to put yourself in the character's shoes as fast as you can and run with it. And that was kind of my technique. Like, of course I studied the character, but it was, I didn't take too much time before filming to, I didn't meditate or do anything like that, Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes, because someone once said
and
to
you
me,
were.
Yeah, go on.
I was just going to say, I was actually surprised with Shayelin how exactly what you're saying. It's like you turned it on and off so quickly that the rest of the actors on set, who are so seasoned, were just like, what is this kid doing? She's showing us up here. Because I remember on set, you guys were singing pop songs, and I was like, okay, we're going into a scene where you're bawling your eyes out and you're terrified, and we got to get there in the next 45 seconds. And you're like,
so
no,
funny.
I'm good. Yeah.
We were singing Super Bass by Nicki Minaj. And then he was like, go. And then that was the scene. But it was, I don't know. I don't think too much about it, really. I do it.
That's incredible.
And really even we the audition that Shayelin did, and we talked about this on set. I feel like I freaked you out on set a little bit, because I was like, dude, that was perfect. We auditioned, I don't know, 100 and something kids to come on and do this role. And as soon as I saw her audition, I was like, this is it. We have to do whatever we can to get her on here. And I remember we chatted, and I think you were saying to me, you were like, so what can I do differently? And I was like, nothing, honestly. if you do what you did in the audition on set, we're
Thank
good.
you.
And you were like, oh God, what if I don't do that? I get you. You were like, well, I just did it,
I mean,
Yeah.
You've definitely hit the jackpot with the cast, Chad, because every one of these cast is just incredible in their own way. You've written, obviously, the film, and you direct. Do you think that's a burden for yourself? Because, while you're directing, are you tempted to change things and rewrite things? Or did you just stick with the draft that you had?
I think I'm a big part of the writing process in any script that I've ever done. I generally come up with the treatment, and then I work with a writer to pull the script together. That's how I've done the last couple of films. And I love developing projects and doing all that, but it also helps being like, I've never had a script come to me that I'm like, oh, I love this script, I'm going to go direct this script. Everything that I've done has always been something that has been built from the ground up and worked with a writer to do it. On this one, I absolutely love writing and directing, because you just know all the content so well. I really think we had to move so fast on set, trying to shoot this stuff, and we had to, move things around, and we're not even in a linear story, really. It's like we're jumping between different worlds and different sets, and it's like sometimes there's a set like the grave scene set is like it's built between 3 different sets and a real location, so trying to kind of wrap your head around all those, and then also, midday, producing team coming and being like, well, this fell through, or we don't have money for this. How are we, what are we going to do? And be having to, rewrite the scenes on set and come up with something that's still awesome. But you can achieve on the small budgets that we have. So I also think as well, like writing something like this, it was so personal, and like I have things peppered in that aren't for anyone else other than me, that were really, personal moments that I had gone through. And, me and Sean were joking the other day. We were like, it's like 9:30 a.m. Everyone's getting their coffees, and me and Sean are in like the corner crying to each other about like, this moment that we're trying to do on set here. And then he just goes and he nails it. It's like 9:45. It's like, all right, everyone go for breakfast. All good. But it's like when you're so close to something, it's hard not to get kind of emotional as you're directing. And I love making movies, and I love, I love the whole process. I mean, it's such a special thing.
I mean, is there a point in when you were shooting this film that you thought, do you know what? This is magic. Was there a certain scene that you thought, this is going to be received amazing?
There's a couple scenes that I know I was really happy with. I actually loved Ellie and Shayelin's scene in the living room, and we shot that fairly early. I think that was like second or third day, maybe.
Yeah.
And just seeing the two of them kind of go through that discussion, like that moment when Shay lifts her arm up and points in the corner, it was like, I know everyone on set was like, okay, that's creepy. We got something creepy going on here. But honestly, you just never know. It's like things can look amazing and feel amazing, and it's not till you kind of get the edit together. Really, even in the edit of this, the first assembly of it, I was like, oh God, I've ruined myself. This is trash. We're just always hard on ourselves. So it took a lot to kind of, really polish the edit, get everything together, and a couple little pickups and stuff. But it's man, I feel very, very lucky to have the cast that we did, because I think a big part of the success of this film is just that we had so many talented people on the other side of the camera.
And Shayelin, have you actually watched the finished article? Because you're 16. So I mean, I don't know what rating this film is, but are you allowed to watch the finished article?
I like the full film.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that last time.
Okay.
That's nice.
because
she's got a hookup.
Yeah, she's got contacts. But it always baffles me. Like when young actors are on set and we see the finished result, which is a very spooky, very scary film. Obviously, now we know you're a Nicki Minaj fan, and that hasn't got in the way of how scary this film is. Have you got a favourite scene or a moment that you really enjoyed as an actor to actually sink your teeth into?
In general, in any film, or in this one?
Well, in this one, yeah.
Okay. Ooh. Okay, probably the one where I was at the hospital with my mom in the film. That one, I don't know why that was my favorite. I think it was my favorite because it was like the last day. And even like when it's the last day, you kind of like have to pull your emotions out of you. And it's like, it's there. And it's also good because it's the last day. So it's like, it kind of works together. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You had a huge cry on that day, like obviously on camera, but it was
and after. But that the hospital that we went to. That was like, was that even a hospital? I don't know what building that was. It was beautiful.
It was this old school, yeah.
It was so big. It was amazing. But I think that was probably one of my favorite scenes to shoot.
It's an excellent scene, excellent. I mean, with this film, Chad, I've been talking to the other cast, and I think that we are, well deserved a sequel to this film, because these characters we need more. And I think that the way this film is, I think it just naturally would be great to have a sequel. Is that something you've thought about, or have you put it to bed and you're just working on other things?
It's funny because the big one that keeps coming up is everyone wants to see a sequel with Agatha.
Yeah, that's
they
exactly what I said.
They want to see the Agatha sequel.
Yeah.
No, it's funny. I actually, the characters are so, the setup and the whole thing is so much fun. I would love to turn it into a TV show. I feel like there's so much, Cynthia going into people's minds and trying to deal with their trauma and, the situations that her and her daughter would get into. I think there's a lot to play with there. Even cramming so much into this film, I love to do it because it was like, it's all my inspirations. It's The Cell, it's The Ring, it's Nightmare on Elm Street, it's, Tarsum Singh style visuals. I mean, I say that as like, he travels the world for his visuals, but, on our budget, it's just fun to try to create something that has like this gothic beauty to it. And, Darren Aronofsky films and like The Fountain, trying to kind of pull that stuff together. I just had so much fun making it that, I'd love to, I'd shoot another one right now. The trouble with sequels is only the people who have seen the first one will ever see the second one. So it's so hard to do unless the first one has a massive success.
So basically,
we'll see what
you're
happens.
saying, Chad, is that if we all go out and watch this movie, potentially we can get a sequel. That's all we need to know.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all you got to do. Everyone, everywhere.
So we need to watch it. We really, really do. I mean, the great thing about this movie, as you said, all those movies just then, it doesn't follow your standard formula for a horror movie. And that's what I like, because it wasn't predictable at all. Literally, things came from either side, upside down, behind you. And I just loved that about the film. With the cast, I mean, what was it like working on the film with people like, Ashley Greene and Sean? I mean, what did they bring to the table? And how difficult was it to cast? Because I know we touched on it before, but how hard was it to cast all the cast? I mean, was it an easy job?
I think we were actually shooting this against the clock because the SAG strike was about to happen. So we actually had to go into production very, very quick. We usually would have had longer pre-production and more rehearsals and longer prep. I think we were shooting our first days and the paint was still drying on the walls. It was, we were building sets, beside sets, or only shooting one direction because we were still dressing the other way. It was really like we were playing catch up the whole time. But it was, it was a challenge for sure to do that, but the cast came in and really, Ashley had worked with some of our producers before, and I absolutely loved her already, just in the stuff that she has done in the past. And I thought she'd be so awesome for this movie. Sean as well, I wanted someone who wasn't the biggest, scariest, bulky man. I wanted him to be scary because of how desperate he is. And I wanted you to be able to look at him and know that, I wanted you to be able to kind of see that who he was before all this. It's he's a guy who helped restore furniture in his back garage for, local people that, he was just a good father and a good husband. And, he was just a good man, and he was just a normal person like everyone else. He wasn't this big, scary, intimidating person. So, I mean, it came together so easy. And then the rest of the cast really came in through auditions, and it really felt like there was no other options for any of them. When Shay came in, I was like, done. There's no other option. We just have to move the shoot around to make it work for her, Or Juno as Agatha. I was like, she is Agatha. There's no other option after her, So I really feel like the stars aligned, and especially on the short timeline that we had, and they all came on board. And man, I wouldn't change any of them, even down to who Dov plays. I had seen him in an episode of Umbrella Academy, I think, and he was like part of a cult. And I was like, it's small, tiny little role, but it just stuck in my head. I remembered him, and then whenever I saw him coming through casting, I was like, yes, that dude. Julian Richings as well. I just got to say, love Julian.
I love watching TV shows or films and looking at the background actors. I find that even more interesting at times, depending on the film. But Shayelin, did anything spooky happen on set? Because, making horror movies, there's always reports of scary things happening on set. Did anything go wrong or spooky things happen?
No.
No, you're too busy singing.
It was a really good, and it felt very safe. Like everybody was very close knit. It wasn't creepy. Maybe like the lighting, or maybe how big some of the rooms were, but that was nothing truly like frightening.
Do you know what? I'd love to be on set.
You were always singing. You were always like a ray of sunshine on set. That's why it was never scary around Shay.
I've got visions of you coming onto set, skipping, singing Starship. Do you know what I mean? And then like, come on, guys. And it's like, serious. But yeah, so before we bid farewell, why should people watch this movie? From a director and writer's point of view, why should we go and press that button or go to the cinema to watch it?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that that I think was written honestly, and I'd like to think that it feels a little bit different. It's funny because, one of the constant things that people keep saying is that, they watched the trailer and thought it was one thing, and then when they watched it, they were like, oh, damn, this is totally something else, Yeah, I mean, it's an indie film. It's outside of the studio system, but, we did everything that we could to kind of make it feel as big as possible. We all poured our heart and soul into it. And, man, I just, appreciate every pair of eyes that watch this movie. So
definitely,
hopefully there's lots of them.
And then I just wanted to say, my computer's just decided to do a weird thing on me. So it comes out on the 16th of April in Canada, the 18th of April in the US as well, and then the 12th of May in the UK. I urge everyone to watch it. It is a great film. Very well written, directed, and the cast, Shayelin, absolutely marvelous performances. And I want to watch it again. To be fair, I might watch it again. Who knows? I might make my wife watch it. She hates horror movies, but yeah, let's give her some nightmares for tonight. But thank you so much for joining the show and chatting for the time that we had, Chad and Shayelin. Look after yourself and keep safe.